It's May 1963. A first wave of decolonization has swept through Africa, and in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, the continent's leaders gather in one place for the first time. They're meeting to decide if their nations should now become united.
If we fail and let this grand and historic opportunity slip by, the people, the masses of the people of Africa, will never forgive us.
There was the passion for African liberation and African unity because we felt that unless Africa confronted the world with a united voice, the exploitation would continue, the division would continue. So that was our starting point.
Dr. Berekhet Haile Selassie was Ethiopia's rather young Attorney General. A supporter of Pan-Africanism since the 1950s, he worked on the draft charter for the summit. Among those arriving to attend were leaders synonymous with the struggle against colonialism, the likes of the Ghanaian President Kwame Nkrumah, the first black African leader to win independence, Sekou Touré from Guinea, Julius Nyerere from Tanganyika, Ben Bella, fresh from Algeria's war of independence against France.
It's difficult to describe the excitement of people. They had never seen anything like it before, These African leaders. Nkrumah and Nyerere were wearing a sort of collarless shirt. It became known as the Nyerere shirt. Apparently, Nkrumah was advised to put on a bulletproof plate because I could see stiffness in the way he moved. It's obvious there had been some attempt on his life. But the most dramatic scene of it all was actually when Nasser emerged from the airplane, a very charismatic, tall, handsome man, smiling. The entire airport exploded. I could feel the ground shaking underneath my feet, And they shouted, Nasser, 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 Nasser. Apparently, country folks had come from Jimma, from Harar, from Arussi, from everywhere, because he was a hero.
But when it came down to business, the leaders were split. Getting them all together had been an achievement in itself.
There were divides. There was the French Francophone, Anglophone divide, the Francophone Africans under the influence of French policies. Then, of course, there was the ideological divide. Africa was divided into two groups, the Monrovia group, which was the majority, which Ethiopia and Nigeria were the most important, and Liberia. And then the smaller but more dynamic group called the Casablanca group, Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, Ben Bella, and Nasser of Egypt. Left-leaning, socialistic. So Africa had actually become an ideological battleground between the East and the West. This was at the height of the Cold War. But everyone felt the urgency of Africans talking to themselves and facing the world united in some form or another.
It was going to be a tough job to work out a final charter which every African state could accept. The main difference of opinion was whether there should be a gradual approach to African unity or whether there should be full political unity straight away.
What kind of unity is going to be, as Nkrumah had demanded, a United States of Africa, a la Americaine, or a watered-down version of that?
And so inside the newly built Africa Hall in Addis Ababa, Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's president, passionately tried to convince the others of his dream of immediate African union.
We all want a united Africa. United not only in our concept of what unity connotes, but united in our common desire to move forward together in dealing with all the problems that can best be solved only on a continental basis. We must therefore not leave this place until we have set up an effective machinery for achieving African unity.
But Julius Nyerere was another giant of the struggle against colonialism, and he became the voice of a more pragmatic, gradual approach.
There is not going to be a God who will bring about African unity by merely willing unity and saying, let there be unity. And none of us is prepared, in the name of unity, to invite a Napoleon to come and bring about unity by conquest.
And that was taken as a gentle warning to Nkrumah. With his dream fast slipping away, Nkrumah threatened to walk out.
His walkout would have been disastrous. So Emperor Haile Selassie exercised one of those fine moments of diplomacy. He called Sékou Touré, whom he knew to be a very good friend of Nkrumah, and asked him, my son, mon fils, je vous prie, I implore you, go and bring your brother. And you know what Sékou Touré's reply was? Oui, mon père. Yes, father. And Sékou Touré rushed out and persuaded Nkrumah. He brought back Nkrumah to a great cheer of the participants and the audience in the gallery. He came back and he said he will continue for the sake of Africa.
And you yourself, how did you feel?
At that time, all of us, myself personally included, were passionately interested and hopeful that Nkrumah's plea would be accepted. But we knew in our heart of hearts, finally we did realize that it was the Nyerere way that was going to prevail.
But away from the serious debate, Addis Ababa was in party mood, entertaining the hundreds of diplomats and journalists who'd arrived for the event.
People were entertained in the evenings, dinners and cocktails. And
did people mix, or was it quite cliquey, the different nations?
People mixed. Some people actually invited people into their homes.
And the hospitality did not stop there. The women of Addis Ababa's red light district were mobilised too.
People had enjoyed the hospitality of the fair ladies in Addis Ababa. It is rumoured that professional ladies, the very respected kind of madams, were called to the palace and thanked by the emperor for helping the king and country. The leader of the youngest nation in Uganda, Milton Obote, was asked to give a vote of thanks to Ethiopia, to the host country. He said, we thank the Ethiopian government and people for taking care of us day and night, which of course created a roar of laughter. And I remember the president of Tunisia, Habib Bourguiba, who had been slumbering, dozing off, was awakened by the laughter. And he nudged his foreign minister, Slim. When his foreign minister whispered something to him, he started laughing himself, so that also raised another laughter.
On the 25th of May, the meeting came to an end with the creation of the Organisation of African Unity. Relatively toothless, it promoted African cooperation and the continent's ongoing battle against colonialism and apartheid. But Nkrumah's dream of immediate political union was dead. Barakat Haile Selassie eventually left Ethiopia to join the struggle for Eritrean independence. He still believes in the dream of a united Africa.
That was what we got, It's like the United Nations. It's very weak, but it's the only thing we've got, Everybody was not exactly happy, 100% happy, but we were pleased that it did not fail.